Hey YouTube fam. Today I want to talk about something that I feel is important to talk about and isn't addressed as often as it maybe should be. And that is how do I want to word this? That is the yin and yang, the good and bad, if you will, because it's subjective, right? But the beneficial and non-beneficial things that come along with spiritual development, right? And the reason I want to bring this up is because there's a lot there's a perception in this spiritual community that in a lot of the channels that I watch, that you should only focus on the positive, only look towards that, the direction in which you wish to go, if you will, right? Keep your eye on the prize, which I think is a good idea, and I know from experience can be extremely beneficial, right? It certainly can be beneficial, certainly can be helpful. That being said, there are pitfalls that come when you start to focus on spiritual development that will snag you up if you're not ready for them, right? And you can look at it as Jung calls it the dark night of the soul, right? You can call it whatever you like, really, but the fact is that at some point during your spiritual journey, you start to, or people start to, I can't say not everyone, I will not presume to say that everyone, this happens to everyone. I'll just speak in I statements because I can only attest to my own experiences. But there's something that happens when you get to a certain point in your spiritual development, and when you get to a certain level of awareness, especially, that's really where it comes from, right? I think this is real important to point out, that a lot of the discomfort that people are feeling from becoming spiritually evolved comes directly from the heightened awareness that we now have, because we're now more aware of our behaviors. Sorry for, on a side note, sorry for the shaking camera. I'm driving and it's snowy as hell, as you can see outside. It's still snowing, and so my car is a bit bumpy. But as we grow more and more spiritually, as our awareness gets higher and higher, that means we become more hyper-focused on both the good things happening to us, i.e. synchronicities, right? You start to notice, maybe you start to see 1111 more often, 222, stuff like that, or even just significant numbers to yourself. You start to become aware to the universe speaking to you. But the universe doesn't only speak positivity, right? Because the universe is made up of all of perceived good and bad, yin and yang. Without one, there is no other. Well, in fact, they're not a different thing. They're the same thing, just different gradients of the same scale, if you will. And so, as we become more aware, we become more aware of our behaviors also, right? We become more aware of how we're making other people feel. And that can be hard. That can be really hard. Here's an example. I used to get into, and I still do. At times I'll get into an argument, right? And before I would get into an argument with someone, right? And whatever, maybe some harsh words were said. I would say some things in the heat of the moment. Maybe that person would say some things in the heat of the moment. And And that would kind of be that. We'd get into a fight. I certainly would hold on to it longer than I needed to. Feel that righteous anger, my justified anger. Yeah, I felt justified in the words I said to them, and so I didn't feel bad about it. Right? Maybe I would feel a little bit bad about it, but I was really good about justifying it. Right? Like, it's okay. Look at the things they said to me. They deserved it. Well, as you become more aware, those justifications no longer work. You can't lie to yourself like that any longer, right? Because you know it's bullshit. And so now, get into that same argument, in the heat of the moment, say those same things, right? Because at this point, I'm not spiritually, I'm much more aware than I was, but I'm not completely aware enough to be able to stop myself in that moment, right? In the heat of the moment. So I get into that same argument. Maybe I don't say as many mean things, but I still say some mean things, right? And now, instead of just feeling bad about the argument I was in, I get to feel bad about the argument, but because I'm more aware, I also feel bad about what I said, why I said it, can no longer justify it because I know it's bullshit, right? And then thirdly, because I'm more aware of how I made the other person feel too. And so, with that being the case, I am super aware that I made them feel bad some type of way, and I can even feel it. I can feel their discomfort, their sadness, their whatever, because I'm much more empathetic now, right? So now, instead of just feeling angry or whatever, or a little bad because I got into an argument, I get to fucking feel 3 times as bad. And I think these are some of the reasons that people begin a spiritual practice and then just become much more depressed, much more dejected, jaded, right? And this happens more and more. I start to see interactions between other people, and I can see through all of the BS. You see through all of it. And because you can, it just, I don't know, the world becomes a little harder to live in for a while. And it's really important to understand this, because if you do not have the tools to, in order to combat this, maybe not combat it, but if you don't have the tools in order to stay balanced during this period and to continue to develop and bring yourself, past that period, we're gonna have some trouble. Like, just, I don't know what other way to say it. We're gonna have some trouble. And this is why people start doing spiritual practices and self-development and then end up being more depressed, feeling more depressed, I've seen videos about it online where people are like, where they really feel that like the worst thing that happened to them was trying to become more spiritually aware. And I understand it. I understand why they feel that way. I don't agree completely. I don't agree with giving up, because I know for a fact that if you continue to power through and you continue to learn tools and you continue to do the work, you will pull yourself out of that. But when you're in that, it's really hard sometimes. It's really hard to believe that, right? Even though I knew, again, back to my own personal experience, even though I had all these tools and I have all this knowledge and I knew that the thing I was doing was right, I was on the right path, at the same time I was in such pain just because I was so aware. And again, that awareness brings you to, you become so much more aware of where you're at now, and that being the case, it brings you become more aware of exactly how far away you are from where you want to be, right? And so, yeah, it becomes tough to navigate. It becomes ultra tough to navigate. And I actually was just watching something which prompted me to make this video about a person that was doing spiritual development, and then they ended up believing, or maybe they do, whatever, that they have schizophrenia, right? And again, I think it's just their awareness became so hyper that they became aware of how unhappy they were and all the reasons for it, but they didn't have the tools on how to better their situation, right? On how to cultivate that happiness within, because that's truly the only way, is to cultivate that happiness within us. You cannot find sustained happiness outside of yourself. It just is not going to work. Let me make this a completely 100% abundantly clear. It is not a permanent solution. It never will be. You can buy a new car, you can buy new Xboxes, you can even get a new partner, you can freaking move to another country, you get new jobs, and all these things will make you feel good for a little while. Some of them longer than others. The Xbox, you're gonna feel good for, whatever, maybe a week, 2 weeks, you're pretty happy about it, but eventually it just becomes a thing in your house. The new car, everybody's psyched to get a new car, right? Super excited the first week, even month, you're showing it to everybody, but one day it just becomes the car that you're driving, right? All that good feeling about it wears off. Or a relationship, you could get into a really good relationship, right? And it feels great. And maybe you found an awesome partner, someone who is great and perfect for you. And they're maybe even helping you to try to stay balanced, to keep that balance within yourself. But eventually, even the good feelings, the honeymoon period, all it wears off. And because even you're in a new relationship, but because you're still the person you are, you brought the same person you always were into that new relationship. Eventually, you stop being so at the beginning of a relationship, you don't mind taking out the trash for the person. You'll pretty much do anything they ask you when you first fall in love, right? And it's the same going both ways. But after a certain amount of time, it's like that all that great lovey-dovey stuff kind of goes out the window, and the two people who you really are in your core end up meeting each other, right? and so all that unhappiness that you've still had deep inside of yourself begins to emerge again. And so back to my point, the only way is to figure out how to cultivate the happiness that you're looking for from inside. And this is certainly possible. I know this for a fact. And what's more, the happiness that comes from this, from doing the work, from cultivating within yourself, is sustainable. It stays with you because it's yours. And so, yeah, I just jumped on this video to get this out there. I don't even know, like, my full thought isn't completely even formed, but I feel intrinsically that this is super important, that people need to know that when it gets hard, that it most likely is going to get hard some point during your practice, and you're going to get to a spot where you're like wanting to give up, because you're like, I've been working so hard and I was so happy, and because in the beginning you get all this momentum going, you make all this progress, and say we'll go from a gradient scale. You start off at a 0, and then you're doing all this progress, and all of a sudden you jump up to like a 50, and you're like, this is great. I feel great. I'm learning all this new stuff. I'm practicing. Maybe I'm meditating now, stuff like that. But then at some point, all that other stuff like catches up to you too, and you're reminded that, oh hey, like all this stuff that I had in my closet maybe, or all these things that happened in my past, they're still like trapped in my body, or still trapped in my psyche, and I need to deal with them. And so And so, yeah, until we actually begin to deal with them and learn tools and then use the tools consistently and clean our house out, if you will, we're going to continue to be in pain. But pain doesn't have to be our default, right? In fact, it's not our default. Our default, our true default is contentment, is happiness. And we can get back there. We totally can get back there. But a lot of it is about understanding that these experiences that happen to us, these experiences we're having aren't happening to us. They're just happening, right? And when you start to understand that and truly feel that, you don't take them so personal. When you don't take them so personal, it doesn't bother you so much because you're not feeling personally attacked. You know that the universe isn't like sitting there waiting and pointing a finger at you and like waiting to body slam you or whatever. No, in fact, that's not even close to what's happening. Yeah, the exact opposite is happening. A lot of times the universe are giving us these challenges in order for us to grow, because in fact, it's damn near impossible to grow while in comfort. Let me repeat that. It is damn near impossible to have any real growth while in comfort, right? Because it's through the discomfort that we are triggered, or that our will to grow is activated. And so when we start to understand this, we can start to see these experiences that we had prior perceived as negative. We can start to perceive them as really what they truly are, opportunities. They are opportunities for growth. They are opportunities for us to grow and to sustain that growth, but only if we can recognize it for what it is. So yeah, I've rambled quite a bit on this one. I'm sorry, I kind of jumped around a bit, but I still think that this information is important and useful. Yeah. So also, if there's anyone who's stuck in their dark night of the soul, you're feeling like there's no one, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling like there's no one who understands you, you're feeling like you just feel outside, I guess. You feel different from everyone else because they're all just content with the way things are. If you're feeling alone, just know you're not, right? There are plenty of us that are out here doing the work, feeling the pain, accepting the pain, doing what we can to improve ourselves. But if you want someone to talk to, if you need someone to talk to, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Because I know that one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves is find a community, find others, find kindred souls, and lift each other up, right? Listen, humans are sociable beings. We are meant to socialize. We are meant to be in groups, live in groups, socialize with each other, love each other, things like that. And when you first start to do the work, or at least, again, I'll come from my experience. When I first started to do the work, I quickly started to feel that I was alone, because all my regular friends, family, coworkers, people that I was spending most of my time with, weren't doing any of this, and they couldn't relate to any of this, and they had no idea what I was trying to tell them about, nor did they care. They didn't want to hear any of it. And that's fine. I can't blame them. But it became, for myself, I became very lonely, and I started feeling like despondent and like really isolated. All right, so, and one of the best things I did for myself was go on to like meetup.com, Facebook, Craigslist even, and tried to, I actively searched out meditation groups, just spiritual communities, and tried to build a network of people that I could talk to, so that way I didn't feel so damn isolated. And it helped so much, so much. I in fact even created my own meetup, and there weren't too many people that came, but it was still cool. It was something that I created, first of all, and something that some other people came to, and we got to just be ourselves and grow together. And so I offer myself to anyone that's feeling lonely, anyone that feels like you're misunderstood, or there's no one in your life currently that understands you. Please feel free to reach out to me. I would gladly like to have a chat with you. Maybe we can build a community we can build a community of like-minded individuals, and together do something amazing. Or we can just talk to each other and prop each other up. Either way, I want you to know that I'm here for you. I love you. I truly love you, all of you. If it wasn't for YouTube, I don't know where I'd be right now. Right? If it wasn't for specifically the community on YouTube, for other YouTubers that took time to create content and let me know I wasn't alone, I don't know where I'd be. And so I would like to offer myself up to anybody who's maybe not as far along as I am, or maybe you're farther along than I am and you just need someone to talk to. Either way, I'm here. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.